Twilight Gets a Puppy. By TDR. Chapter 111. Collie Mark. Chronicles. A few days after the sonic rain boom. As a young filly in Canterlot, I always wanted to go to a summer sun celebration where Princess Celestia raised the sun. And when I finally made it, I saw the most amazing and wonderful thing I'd ever seen. Twilight smiled wistfully. What was that? Sweetie Belle asked. She saw Princess Celestia raise the sun. Spike deadpanned. Shut up you, who's telling this story? Twilight snapped. Not you, if you're yelling at me. Spike smirked. Watch it, Buster, this is the story of your birth. Twilight snapped. Yeah, which is a good reason for me to keep making you stop telling it. Spike frowned. Apple Bloom, Sweetie Belle, and Scootaloo all kept back behind the couch as the purple mare paced. She looked completely frazzled and her mane was a mess. She twitched occasionally as she paced before them telling the story. They really hadn't wanted to talk to her, but passing the library they were sort of yanked inside by Twilight, who was looking for anything to do while her books were in the mail. It was only the fact that Spike and Aloysius seemed unconcerned and Ross was nearby with a rolled-up magazine, that he had swatted her with a few times already, that kept the girls from running out screaming. Anyway, after that I decided to learn everything I could, and my parents decided to have me apply to Princess Celestia's school for gifted unicorns. That seems a little tribal. Apple Bloom pointed out. What about Earth ponies and Pegasi? They could enroll too and often had in the past. Twilight offered. Seems there were 3 schools a long time ago in different parts of Equestria, but there were always so few students that all the schools sort of closed down. The one in Canterlot, for unicorns, was the only one that remained, and even that was just a back room based out of Canterlot U for years. The new school hasn't been there that long, and Princess Celestia calls it her school for gifted ponies, but old names stick. Okay. Apple Bloom considered. Anyway, it would have been great except for the fact I had to pass an entrance exam. Twilight sighed. And here it is. Spike grumbled as Ross chuckled. The written part was easy, even if they did word 3 of the questions in such an odd way that I needed to ask the instructors whether they meant Light Fantastic's theoretical physics discoveries, before or after he got his theoretical degree in physics. Twilight sighed. They seemed to have an issue with how I picked apart their wording, but I still got 100 on it. Translation. She was a nerd. Spike added. I am not having this argument with someone who argues over if a O&O fireball spell creates pressure when it goes off, or just fire. Twilight snapped. Spike considered a moment. That's fair. Or would be if you hadn't gone through all my rule books while I was in school. Right, also there's no pressure, it's just magic. Twilight added. It's a fireball, fire creates pressure by rapid expansion as it eats fuel. That's why windows blow out in burning buildings. Spike argued. Bork. Ross grinned. No, I'm not arguing my nerd cred with my other annoying brother either, particularly since he's still singing the songs from Bad Horses Sing Along Journal. Twilight retorted as Ross laughed. Scootaloo interrupted. Moving on, the practical part of the exam was anything but. They wanted me to hatch a dragon egg. Twilight explained. Did you do it? Sweetie Belle asked, getting a glare from Spike and a snort of amusement from Ross. I did, though not at first. I tried every spell I could think of and nothing was working. At the end I was about to give up when some massive boom startled me and a wave of energy washed over everything. I sort of freaked out and blasted the egg, causing it to hatch. Of course I also lost control of my magic from the shock, made Spike grow to ginormous size, turned my parents into cacti, and nearly destroyed the testing center before I pulled Ross out of thin air and painted a wall. Don't ask on that last part. They still haven't figured out a way to stop the polka dots from bleeding through. I told them not to ask, not for you to tell them. Twilight snapped. Anyway, so it took Princess Celestia showing up for me to be brought out of my surge, and when I finally calmed down I saw I had my cutie marks, as well as these 2 pains in my flank. You know you love us. Can we please go find Rainbow Dash now? Scudalo whined. Author's note. I actually forgot entirely about this chapter. I even figured it was in the 2nd season until it was pointed out later. Watching the episode again, I decided that nothing much would change, and Twilight would be too busy sulking to go to Sugar Cube Corner at the right time to discover Rainbow Dash's part in her life. Word does get back to her, but she freaks out because she doesn't have the books she needs to check the timeline, and none of the other main 6 or Mac for that matter are willing to loan her a book of any kind for fear of getting on the blacklist for violating her punishment. She did almost kill her brother and the others because she overextended the spells she used to keep the mares off Ross. End author's note. End chapter 111. Collie Mark. Chronicles.